Now we've got to move on. Let's talk about the ECHR, the European Convention on Human Rights, and its extension, the European Court of Human Rights. Now, the president of the ECHR, whose gender we debated this morning, she calls Shiofra O'Leary. It is a she. She said that Rishi's bright new legislation, the Safety of Rwanda Bill, under which he feels he will be able to deport migrants to Rwanda within international law. She said, not a chance, mate. You send a single migrant to Rwanda under your new legislation that will break international law, and we will not allow it. This is pretty significant.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm shaking my head. It's enough to make a cat laugh, this. Honestly, you know, we've how many years after Brexit where the British public decided that actually unelected foreign powers shouldn't have a controlling stake in how we govern this country, that Parliament has been sovereign for, what, since the Conqueror came over? No, 1,500 years, right? The Saxon Wittengemot, right? That these people, elected and imperfect as we've said they are, and though they may be, they are the people we elect to decide how we govern this country. And that somebody who we've never really heard of before can come in and try and tell us how the country could work. We're going to go down a path where one party or another will lead some kind of referendum movement to have us out of this, the same way we're the EU. And what's going to happen then?
We should leave the ECHR. If it's going to behave like this, we should just leave.
This ties into what you were saying earlier, frankly, about the West waking up to the threats of the anti-Western axis, because a lot of the mass migration, the movements of people, is being used as grey zone warfare by Russia, by Iran, by their terrorist organisations that they're connected to, for funding, because they receive a lot of money from people paying to be trafficked from one side of the world to the other, but also to deliberately destabilise the West. And if we can't break that model, it actually is a threat to Western security. And here's the ECHR telling us, no, we can't.
Absolutely right. I think the ECHR is at the forefront of what I think we would call the useful idiots, a lot of whom are also in universities and other places in the West, who seem to think that the things they're fighting for now, that are these noble universalist principles, are actually things, as you say, the evil actors like Russia and China are using against us. Yeah. Finland's had to close its border with Russia because after joining NATO, the Russians were pushing so many migrants across. Look at what's happening in the Mediterranean, shipping lanes. We can name it and name it and name it and keep going. But until we stand up and say this stuff is nonsense, the ECHR was not designed to tell Britain, the best democracy, one of the best countries in the world, biggest powers, pushing the rule of law and all these wonderful, you know, Judeo-Christian values, whatever you want to call it, around the world. It's not meant to be going after countries like us. It's meant to be going after the countries that are really doing evil in the world. And of course it's not, because they'll ignore them and we'll kowtow to it.
And I mean, when this push comes to shove, we ever do get to the point where we've got migrants on a plane ready to fly out, and Shiofra and her gang say no, Rishi's saying we will not back down, we will overrule you. I'll tell you, come that moment, Rishi will not have the guts. That's the problem.
That'll be the moment, I think, if he does do that, that he can take the election back into his own hands.
Yeah,
and that's
but he
a big
will
challenge.
not do it. He hasn't got the guts.
Someone needs to. There needs to be one European leader who just says, that's it, I'm turning a boat around, and then everyone will follow suit.
Well, France has already done this, right? France completely ignored them on this and deported somebody. Why won't we?
Exactly.